At 76, Margaret still kept a small garden behind her house, tomatoes, a few sunflowers, and her favorite lavender bushes. Every morning she'd slip on her old gardening gloves, frayed at the edges, and hum an old Patsy Cline tune as she watered the soil. It wasn't just about the plants. It was about the rhythm, the quiet pride of taking care of something, of choosing what her day looked like. But then came the fall. One missed step in the kitchen, a fractured hip, and suddenly everything changed. Her children, loving, worried, doing what they thought was best, insisted it was time. "You'll be safer in a nursing home," they said. "It'll be easier. You won't have to worry about anything anymore." So she packed a few boxes and left behind the garden, the old wind chime on the porch, and the sound of her radio drifting through the morning air. At first, it didn't seem so bad. There were nurses who smiled, meals delivered on schedule, and other residents who said hello. But within weeks, Margaret noticed something had shifted, not just in her routine, but in her spirit. The choices she used to make without thinking, now they had to be approved. The days she once filled with quiet purpose began to stretch out, slow and heavy. The garden gloves stayed folded in a drawer, untouched. She once told me, in a whisper full of honesty, "I didn't know how much I'd miss deciding when to water my own tomatoes." If you're watching this today, maybe you're standing at a crossroads, wondering if moving into a nursing home is the right path for you or someone you love. Maybe it seems like the safest option. Maybe everyone around you says it's what makes sense. But before you take that step, I want to gently walk with you through a few things most people never talk about until it's too late. In this video, we're going to explore 10 powerful truths about nursing homes. Not to scare you, but to help you prepare, to protect what matters most, and maybe to help you hold on to something you didn't realize you'd miss until it's gone. Some of these lessons might surprise you. Some might hurt a little, but all of them come from real people, real experiences, and from a place of care. So, grab a cup of tea, sit somewhere quiet, and let's talk. You deserve the full picture, because your next decision might just shape the rest of your life. Number 1. The silent trade-off: why convenience comes at the cost of freedom. Grandpa Ray used to joke that he was the captain of his own ship. Every morning, he'd rise at 6, not because he had to, but because he liked watching the sun creep through the blinds while his coffee brewed in that old percolator he refused to replace. Breakfast? Sometimes eggs, sometimes just toast with peach jam. He'd sit out on the porch with the paper, hum along to a Johnny Cash song on the radio, and decide what kind of day it would be, whether to fix the squeaky gate, tend the yard, or simply rest. It was his world, his pace. But that changed when he moved into the nursing home after a mild stroke. Suddenly, mornings began with knock-knock, followed by, "Time for breakfast, Mr. Ray." It didn't matter if he was still sleeping or if he felt like skipping breakfast that day. Meals came on a schedule. Lights out happened by routine. Want to take a walk outside? You'd need someone to be available. And sometimes that meant waiting or just skipping it altogether. He once told me, "I traded my independence for convenience, but nobody told me how lonely that would feel." You see, the silent trade-off is this. In exchange for being looked after, many older adults unintentionally give up the very thing that makes each day feel truly yours: the freedom to choose. Not big choices like moving cities or buying a car, but the small ones. When to get up, what to wear, how long to sit with a good book. And it turns out, those small choices are the heartbeat of daily life. There's no denying that a nursing home can offer safety and support. But if we're not careful, that structure can slowly take away the rhythm that gives us joy. The hardest part is that it doesn't always happen overnight. You simply wake up one day and realize you haven't chosen anything for yourself in weeks. The lesson here? Before giving up those little freedoms, pause and ask, is there a way I can get the help I need while still keeping control of my day? Because once you let go of those choices, it's harder than you think to take them back. And sometimes, it's not just the freedom you lose, but the sense of self that came with it. But that's just the beginning. Because even after giving up control, there's something else people rarely talk about. Something that hurts in a different way. It's what happens when the visits slow down, and the silence starts to stretch longer than expected. Let's talk about that next. Number 2. Out of sight, out of mind, the emotional toll of being forgotten. There was a woman named Eleanor in the same nursing home as Grandpa Ray. She had soft silver hair, always brushed neatly behind her ears, and a quiet grace that made her feel like someone who once hosted big Sunday dinners. Table full, stories flowing, laughter echoing through the house. The first week she moved in, her son visited 3 times. He brought her favorite blanket, a framed photo of her dog Max, even a little vase of fresh peonies. Eleanor smiled that week. Really smiled. She told everyone, "My son's nearby, he'll come often." But then the visits started to space out. Once a week became once every 2 weeks. Then a call instead of a visit. Then a missed call. Then nothing for a while. I remember walking past her room one afternoon and hearing her say softly, maybe they got stuck in traffic. But deep down, I think she already knew. Life outside just kept moving. And she didn't. It's not that families stop loving you. It's just that when you're no longer part of the daily rhythm, it's easy to slip from the front of their minds. People get busy, schedules fill up, and before they know it, weeks go by. But for the person waiting by the window, each of those days feels like a quiet question. Did they forget me? Or did they just stop needing me the way I still need them? Loneliness in nursing homes isn't always loud. It doesn't always come with tears or complaints. Sometimes it's just a glance toward the door that never opens. The lesson? Before making any decision about long-term care, have honest conversations, not just about logistics, but about presence. Ask your family, can you truly show up, not just for emergencies or holidays, but for moments that matter? Because no matter how clean the sheets or how scheduled the meals, nothing fills the empty space left by feeling forgotten. And the truth is, when connection fades, something even deeper begins to slip away. Your sense of purpose. That's what we'll talk about next. Number 3. When purpose fades, how losing small daily tasks impacts mental health. You probably remember Mr. Jenkins from down the street, the one who used to fix everybody's screen doors and mow his lawn in perfect straight lines. He wasn't a man of many words, but his hands were always busy. Building birdhouses, fixing his old Chevy, keeping the neighborhood mailbox from leaning too far. When he moved into the nursing home after his arthritis got worse, everyone thought it would be a good break for him. No more chores, just rest, they said. And at first, it sounded nice. Meals brought to his table, laundry done by staff, floors mopped without him lifting a finger. But slowly something changed. He stopped smiling as much. The sparkle in his eyes dimmed. And when I visited one day and asked how he was doing, he said something I'll never forget. I used to end the day feeling like I did something, even if it was small. Now I just sit. I don't feel useful anymore. You see, when we talk about mental health in older adults, people often think it's just about memory or mood. But purpose, the quiet engine that gives each day meaning, is just as important. And it doesn't take grand accomplishments. It can be something as small as brewing your own cup of coffee, folding laundry just the way you like it, or watering a plant you've cared for since it was just a sprout. These little tasks tell your brain, you still matter, you still contribute. But in many nursing homes, those opportunities slowly disappear. Not because people are unkind, but because the system is designed to take care of everything. And while that sounds comforting, it also takes away the need to do. The lesson? Before giving up those everyday routines, ask yourself, what are the small things that make me feel like me? And is there a way to hold on to some of them, even with help? Because when purpose fades, the days begin to blur. And when the days blur, the spirit dims. And without that inner spark, even the strongest body can start to slow down much faster than anyone expects. Which brings us to something just as important, how quickly our physical strength can slip away if we're not careful. Let's talk about that next. Number 4. Use it or lose it, the fast decline of physical strength. Uncle Dave used to be the kind of man who never sat still for long. Even after turning 80, he'd still sweep the porch, pull weeds in the backyard, and walk 2 laps around the neighborhood each morning with his old baseball cap tilted just right. He always said, if I stop moving, I'm done for. And we thought he was just being stubborn. But after a fall and a short hospital stay, his kids convinced him to try a nursing home, just for a while, they said. At first, it seemed like a good idea. No stairs to climb, meals delivered to his seat, and someone always nearby in case he needed anything. But within a few weeks, Uncle Dave started needing more help. He wasn't walking as much. His legs began to feel stiff. The nurse offered a wheelchair to make things easier, and he accepted it, just for a day or two. But those 2 days turned into weeks, and then it became hard to even stand without someone's help. He looked at me once and said, "Funny thing is, I came here walking on my own. Now I'm not sure I can even make it to the door." And that's the truth no one really tells you. When your body stops moving, it starts forgetting how. Muscles shrink, joints stiffen, balance weakens, not because of illness, but because of inactivity. In nursing homes, where everything is set up for safety and ease, it's easy to stop using your body. And the less you use it, the faster you lose it. The lesson? Before choosing comfort over activity, remember, movement isn't just about getting from point A to B. It's about holding on to your strength, your balance, your confidence. Even small habits, standing up every hour, stretching your arms, walking to the window, can make a difference. Because once your legs stop carrying you the way they used to, it doesn't just limit where you go. It changes how you feel about yourself. And when that happens, another loss begins to show up quietly, but deeply. The loss of privacy and the dignity that comes with it. Let's take a closer look at that next. Number 5. The loss of privacy and dignity, more than just a roommate issue. When Aunt Lillian moved into the nursing home, she packed a small box with her favorite things: her floral robe, a velvet photo album, and a tiny porcelain angel that had sat on her nightstand for over 40 years. She told me, "If I bring these, I'll feel more at home." But by the end of the first week, something in her voice changed. She whispered during our call, "I haven't had a real moment to myself since I got here." You see, what she hadn't expected was the constant presence of others, staff walking in and out, scheduled room checks, reminders over the intercom. Even going to the bathroom became something she had to ask permission for. There was one day she told me about that still stays with me. She had just finished getting dressed when a staff member knocked and entered before she could respond. Lillian stood there, halfway putting on her cardigan, feeling exposed. Not just physically, but emotionally. "I know they meant well," she said, "but I felt like I was losing a piece of myself, like I wasn't Lillian anymore, just another patient on the list." And then, there's the roommate issue. She was lucky. Her roommate was kind and quiet, but not everyone is. She told me stories of others who shared rooms with people who wandered at night, talked loudly in their sleep, or refused to bathe. It's hard to sleep well when you don't feel safe, or when the space no longer feels yours. The truth is, dignity isn't just about privacy. It's about having control over how you're treated, when you speak, how you dress, and when you rest. And when those things are managed by others, even with good intentions, it slowly chips away at your sense of identity. The lesson? Before making the move, ask the hard questions. Will you have a private room? Can you control when staff enter? Are your routines, your rhythms respected? Because once dignity is lost, it takes time and effort to rebuild it. And no one should have to feel like a stranger in their own skin. And sadly, for many, the challenges don't end there. Even if you decide, "This isn't right for me," getting out can be harder than getting in. Let's talk about that next. Number 6. You think you can leave? The hidden obstacles to moving out. Mr. Carl always said he was just giving it a try. After a mild stroke, his daughter found a nursing home nearby and told him it would be temporary. "Stay a few months, rest up, and then you'll come home," she promised. So he went along with it, packed a few clothes, handed over the keys to the house, and told himself, it's not forever. But weeks turned into months. And when he finally said he was ready to go home, everything had changed. His daughter had taken over the house, boxed up furniture, cleared out closets. She meant well. She thought she was helping. But when Carl asked about moving back, her answer came with hesitation. "Dad, are you sure you can manage on your own? I just want what's best for you." And then came the doubts. He'd been sitting more, walking less, Meals were brought to his table, and laundry just appeared folded in his drawer. He hadn't cooked in months, hadn't driven, hadn't managed his medication alone. Suddenly, the idea of going back didn't just feel difficult. It felt scary. That's the part no one tells you. Leaving a nursing home is much harder than entering one. Once you've adjusted to the rhythm, the routines, and the help, your body changes, your mind second guesses. And the life you left behind? It might not be waiting the way you thought it would. For some, the house is sold. For others, the cost of care has drained savings, making it impossible to hire help back home. And sometimes families simply grow comfortable with the arrangement, not out of neglect, but out of habit. And habit can be a hard thing to break. The lesson? Before moving in, ask yourself, if this doesn't feel right, what's my way back? Create a plan. Keep the home if possible. Set clear timelines and check-ins. Because once you're in, the longer you stay, the harder it becomes to leave, physically, financially, and emotionally. And if the nursing home starts to feel like the only option, maybe it's time we look at what other paths are out there, the ones that help us stay independent, connected, and cared for. Let's explore that together in the next part. Number 7. Better alternatives. Options that preserve independence without isolation. You remember Mrs. Betty from church? The one who always wore lavender perfume and brought extra banana bread for the choir? A few years ago, her daughter suggested a nursing home after Betty slipped on her front steps. But Betty said something that stuck with me. I may be old, but I still like waking up to the smell of my own kitchen. So instead of moving into a facility, her family found another way. They hired a part-time home aide who came by 3 mornings a week, helped with bathing, medication, and meal prep. They installed grab bars in the bathroom, set up a medical alert button, and had a neighbor check in each afternoon. Betty stayed in her house, in her bed, with her teacups and her books and the wind chime on the porch, and she was happy. Here's the truth. Nursing homes aren't the only option, and for many people, they're not even the best one. There's in-home care, where trained professionals help you in your own space, on your own terms. There's senior co-housing, where older adults live in a shared community, but with private rooms, shared gardens, and mutual support. There are even granny flats, small private units built on a family member's property so you can stay close but still have independence. Each of these options offers a different kind of balance. Care without control, safety without surrender, togetherness without confinement. Of course, they're not perfect. They require planning, communication, and sometimes a bit more money up front. But for many, they offer something nursing homes rarely can. The dignity of living life your way, with a hand nearby, not holding you down. The lesson? Before assuming a nursing home is the only path forward, pause. Explore what's out there. Ask, what do I really need, and what am I not willing to give up yet? Because sometimes the right support isn't about where you live, it's about how you live. And yet, even with all the best plans, there's one thing that can still go wrong. When family members, with all their love, unintentionally make decisions that don't fully reflect what you need. Let's talk about that next. Number 8. What families often get wrong. Misunderstandings that hurt more than help. When Grandma Louise fell in the grocery store parking lot, her daughters jumped into action. They booked doctor appointments, canceled her mail, started sorting through her belongings, and within a week, they'd placed a deposit on a nursing home nearby. They weren't being careless, they were scared, and they wanted her to be safe. But here's what no one paused to ask. What did Grandma Louise actually want? I remember sitting with her a few weeks later as she sat by the window of her new room, hands folded in her lap. She smiled when I walked in, but there was something behind her eyes, a quiet sadness. She told me, "They meant well. I know they love me, but nobody asked if I was ready to leave my home." It's one of the most common things families get wrong, not because they don't care, but because they care so much, they forget to listen. They rush into action. They assume more help means better help. They speak for you when all you needed was someone to sit beside you and ask, "What feels right to you?" Sometimes, love can look like overprotection. Sometimes worry turns into decisions made about you, not with you. And it's not just big decisions, it's the small ones too. choosing your clothes, deciding what's for dinner, signing papers before you've had a chance to read them through. The lesson? If you're the one facing these choices, speak up. Tell your family, I appreciate your help, but I need to be part of the process. And if you're the one offering help, take a breath. Ask, listen, involve. Because dignity isn't just about where you live, it's about being seen and heard, even in the smallest of moments. And holding on to that dignity begins with holding on to the parts of yourself that make you, you. So in the next part, let's talk about how to stay true to yourself, even in a place where everything around you tries to make everyone the same. Number 9. How to stay yourself in a place that makes everyone feel the same. There was a gentleman named Mr. Thomas at the nursing home where Uncle Dave stayed. He had been a jazz musician in his younger years, played trumpet in a small Chicago club every Friday night for 2 decades. He didn't talk much, but his eyes lit up whenever someone mentioned Duke Ellington or Ella Fitzgerald. When he first moved in, his room looked like everyone else's: white walls, beige bedding, and the standard armchair by the window. But over time, something changed. One day, I walked by and heard soft music floating from his room. Inside, he had set up a small record player. On the nightstand sat a framed photo of him on stage, trumpet in hand. Next to it, a little vase with fresh sunflowers, his late wife's favorite. I may live here now, he told me, but I'm still me, and I'm not letting this place make me forget that. That stuck with me, because the truth is, nursing homes often unintentionally create sameness. Meals are served at the same time. Rooms are arranged the same way. Activities are designed for groups, and if you're not careful, you start to feel like just another number. Not because anyone is trying to erase who you are, but because routines take over and individuality quietly fades. But you can hold on to yourself. You can bring your own blankets, your favorite books, a familiar lamp, or that old clock with the soft chime. You can ask to keep your morning routine, wear the clothes that feel like you, and play the music that reminds you where you've been. The lesson? Before moving in, or even after, think about this. What makes me feel like myself? Then do your best to keep those things close, because no matter where you live, you deserve to feel like you still belong to yourself. And as we near the end of this journey together, there's one final piece that ties it all together. Before making any decision, you deserve to pause, reflect, and ask the most important questions, the ones that go deeper than just where you'll stay. Let's take that step together next. Number 10. Before you decide, 7 questions you must ask yourself and your family. When Grandpa Joe first started talking about moving into a nursing home, he said something I'll never forget. I don't want to be a burden. I just want to make things easier for everyone. And while we all appreciated his selflessness, it made us stop and think, was this really about what he needed or what he thought we needed? That's why before any decision was made, we sat down at the kitchen table. No pressure, no rush, and just talked. Not about logistics or paperwork, but about feelings, about hopes, about fears he hadn't said out loud. And from that conversation came a set of questions that changed everything. So if you're standing at a similar crossroads, I want to share them with you now. Take your time with each one. Let them sit with you. And don't be afraid to speak your truth. 1. Do I truly need this level of care right now, or am I afraid of what might happen? Sometimes we act out of fear, but fear shouldn't be the only reason to give up a life you still enjoy. 2. Have I explored all other options, like home care, shared living, or part-time help? The first solution isn't always the best one. Sometimes the better fit takes a little more digging. 3. What parts of my daily routine bring me comfort, and am I willing to give them up? Think of the little things. Morning coffee on the porch, your favorite chair, the freedom to nap when you want. Or, is my decision coming from me or from what others think I should do? It's okay to ask for advice, but the choice should always start from you. 5. If I move in, do I have a plan and the ability to move back out if it doesn't feel right? Too many people believe it's a temporary trial, only to realize they no longer have a way back. 6. What kind of connection do I need from my family, and are they prepared to give it? If visits and phone calls are important to you, talk about that early. Be honest about what makes you feel supported. 7. What does quality of life mean to me, and does this choice support that vision? For some, it's safety. For others, it's independence. There's no wrong answer, only the one that's right for you. The lesson? Before you sign anything, before you pack a box, sit down with someone you trust and walk through these questions together. You deserve to be heard. You deserve to be supported. And most of all, you deserve to live with dignity, not just comfort. Because your life, your rhythm, your memories, your preferences is worth holding on to for as long as possible. And now that we've walked through these 10 truths together, I'd love to leave you with one final message, something gentle but important. Let's close this chapter the same way we began it, with honesty and heart. If you're still here with me, thank you. Thank you for taking the time to care for yourself, to reflect, and to think deeply about a decision that could shape your next chapter. Whether you're considering a move for yourself or for someone you love, I hope this conversation has helped you see more clearly what matters, what's worth protecting, and what you still have the power to choose. Because the truth is, you don't need to be young again. You just need to be strong enough to enjoy what matters most. A warm morning sun, a favorite song, a phone call from someone who remembers your laugh. So before we say goodbye, I'd love to hear from you. If you found value in what we shared today, please comment the number 10 below to let me know you made it to the end. And if you think this video could help someone else, a parent, a friend, a neighbor, please share it with them. You never know who might need to hear these words at just the right time. From my heart to yours, take care of yourself. You're not alone on this journey, and you still have so much life worth living. We'll see you again soon. Until then, be well and be kind to yourself.